Edging across the line, Bow gets away smartly. Jones lights up the tyre there, side by side, heading up the hill, and a mighty start from Richards up the outside of the pair of them, catching the two Sierra drivers unaware. And Richards may well take the lead as they go over Bitchapay, but here he is trying to fight back to get the inside. Fantastic start from Jimmy Richards.
Richards was off the mark faster than Yasser Arafat at a tea-towel discount sale. Jim opened a handy break over the pack of Sierras, while officers from the New South Wales Pollution Control Commission thought the whole thing was a bit too noisy for human consumption. AMAROO has never been easy on tyres, but those who went soft before the start were showing more canvas at half-time than the National Gallery.
Oh, the Bowie's clamped the tail onto the guardrail.
Now, has he done any damage to the left rear? That's the break that Richo needed.
That was the closest Bow got to Richards during the race. JB finally settling for second, while team leader Johnson took third. Game, set and match, though, to Richo.
Racing, Brock off to a good one this time. Longhurst buried it on the starting line, and Johnson grabs a gear. And Johnson up now on the inside is really going to make life interesting for Tony Longhurst when they head down to the first corner. Brilliant start by John Bow. And just look at Alan Jones muscling his way into the action. Also a good start there from Jimmy Richards.
The second round at Symonds Plains brought some joy for Brock fans when their hero bolted into the blue after a sensational start. Brock led Longhurst and Johnson in the opening laps, while AJ pitted for fresh rubber after cooking his faster than Margaret Fulton. Horsepower reigns at the Plains, and Jim was doing it tough against the Sierras, though he was resigned to playing the waiting game.
Did you get off to a good start? I saw Seaton take some ground off you.
Yes, a few of them did, but I'm just slowly working away at them, not trying too hard too early. Long way to go yet.
Brock's tyres were all but gone when Johnson arrived to make life even more miserable for him. Johnson ultimately claimed the lead from Peter Perfect, while Bow took third after a race-long duel with Seaton in the Peter Jackson Sierra.
Away they go. Seaton blasts them off the line, and Bow goes with him on the outside. Johnson slips into third as they sweep down for the run now. Alan Jones getting away to a great start on the outside, but it's Glenn Seaton and the Peter Jackson Sierra making a brilliant start from John Bow. Next is Dick Johnson.
PHILLIP Island was the new venue for round 3 of the series. Longhurst got away to a brilliant start, but young Glenn Seaton charged to the front just as Brocky and the boys got into some heavy metal manoeuvres in the middle of the pack. Young Tony was on the move. He zipped inside Johnson and then claimed Seaton. Longhurst, Johnson and Bow was the order till Jonesy decided to shuffle the pack.
Oh, there's Jonesy.
John Bow.
John Bow. So that was a costly exercise.
Now I know why they're going to bring Peter Brock into the pits. He's got one of our camera cables on the back. Now, he always wanted to be a TV star.
The closing stages produced some interesting moments. Jim's Nissan nobbled Jones for third, while Murray Carter set off a bushfire alert after feeling the heat through his feet. Johnson and Bow, meanwhile, were on their way to a stunning 1-2 over the Richards Nissan, though Winton would be a different story.
They're off. Jones actually gets the best of it, but Richards catches the next one, gets through smartly on the lead, and then Mark Skate making a brilliant start out of the second row. Just look at them fight for racing room as they go into the first turn.
Winton Raceway may have more twists than a Stephen King novel, but Tiny Town always produces one of the closest contests of the year. The fourth round of the series was just that. Richards and Jones swapping the lead lap after lap. Skate joined them for a slice of the action, only to have the welcome mat withdrawn in his face. The traffic congestion was something else as Richards tried to thread his way through the slower traffic. Johnson was in more strife than a Baghdad dictator at the Tel Aviv Hilton.
What is the definition of Winton?
Winton. It's like running a marathon round your clothesline.
Richards was still sprinting at the finish. He opened up the gap over Longhurst, Jones and Seaton, with Johnson a distant fifth.
Hang on, Australia, we're about to go racing. Off the line, Johnson away quickly, Bowers away even faster on the inside. The 2B and 8 Sierras have been shuffled out by the Shell Sierras as they head down to the carousel, the right-hander for the first time.
It was enough to make an old promoter proud. Spectators hanging off the rafters and 3 Queenslanders tipped to fill the trifecta in round 5. Johnson and Jones led the qualifying order till Dickie Boy punched the Shell Sierra into the lead soon after the start, with Bow a comfortable second. Nobody was taking much notice of Colin Bond as he zipped onto the tail of Larry Perkins and began to pull in the pack. After that, the script went a little haywire. AJ vented the Ford Sierra and suddenly pit lane was busier than a State Bank auditor in John Bannon land. To the absolute horror of his fans, Johnson had a rear off, which left hard-charging Colin Bond up front, and that's where he stayed to beat Brocky and win Percy in the run to the flag.
Racing, Brock misses the start. The Nissan gets up behind the pair of them, has to go for another gear. Longhurst tries to carry on the outside, but it'll be Brock to the first turn.
The annual Gala at Mallala marked the competition debut of Nismo's new twin-turbo four-wheel gizmo. Brocky led the parade after another brilliant start, but young Scaife in the Nissan was a sight to behold. Bondi was also in the thick of it, passing the Shell duo of Johnson and Bow, while up front the almost perfect Peter had his hands full, fighting off the inevitable.
Watch horsepower now as young Scaife guns the Nissan down the inside. We'll have to try and outbrake him.
The mobile team's luck went from bad to worse soon after when Andy Madecki turret tested the second two-door. Neil Crompton was looking good, clearing the field and charging past Longhurst. The excitement continued as a rear hub failure took care of the new Nissan. That put Brock back in front, but not for long. Before you could pose the question, what was an urbanite like Bond doing in a rustic setting like this? The Sydney-sider was home in a canter over Johnson, Richards and the luckless Brock.
Green light on. Brock wins the charge and Jim Richards out like helter-skelter down the outside. A bad start from Longhurst. Jones got the best of that.
The Wanneroo shootout in the Wild Wild West saw Brocky at his best, winning the start over Richards in the Nissan GT-R, with Longhurst and Seaton snapping at their heels. AJ copped a 1-minute penalty for jumping the start, so his race was virtually run. Longhurst moved to second, and then young Seaton breezed past Richards, while Johnson did the same a lap later. The Queenslander then suffered a high-speed suspension failure, which dunked him in the dunes. Brock, meantime, increased his advantage to cruise home a clear winner over Seaton, Bond and Richards, setting up a sensational grand final at Oran Park.
Ready for the start. Richards head-to-head against Brock. Richards wins the start. Absolutely flies off the line.
The scenario was simple. Richards had to win this race to take the title. He couldn't afford to trail the Queenslander to the wire. And while many people thought the new Nissan GT-R might have been a little underdone for the occasion, Jim simply streeted them. Brocky moved to second early in the race, while Johnson headed to the pits with tyre woes. The B&H team had double troubles. Longhurst had a moment on the approach to the bridge. Soon after, the Jones Sierra was KO'd by engine problems. It just seemed like everyone was having one of those days.
My drink bottle had an enema inside the car here, and it created fumes because I used some gunk in the bottle that nearly blinded me. Then Brock got past me, would you believe? Unfortunately.
Yeah.
And that thing of his, like, I nearly choked to death on Mobile 1. It looks like the last train to Fernie Grove.
Best slam dunk of the Arvo was perpetrated on John Bow by Colin Bond. But at the finish, it was Richards over Brock and George Fury, giving the Australian Championship crown to Gentleman Jim over Peter Brock, Dick Johnson and Colin Bond.